So I have just play this for everybody. First of all, I'm Frankie Darcell. Welcome to my podcast. Y'all know I love to sing too. Ho! Breathe deep when you feel it right. Let it go. You know how to ride. Yes, Billy Porter is my guest. Hi, Billy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. First of all, we're going to talk about your single. We're going to talk about your album. But I need to forewarn you.
What?
I love to sing.
Okay.
Didn't say I could sing, but I sing anyway, honey.
I love it.
Oh, oh, yes, yes, yes.
I love
it. I love
Thank
it.
you.
I love it. And I got to tell you, one of my favorites of yours, first of all, I love fashion. We're going to talk about that. But, let the children know. Now that one ain't Billy. Let the children know what time it is.
Yes.
That song just gives me so much energy.
Thank you.
It's my day off. So we'll talk about children and we'll talk about fashion coming up.
And we have to talk about Baby Was a Dancer.
Say that.
We have to talk about Baby Was a Dancer. Baby Was a Dancer is number 2 on the BBC charts.
Come on, number 2.
Yes, we're working it out.
Come on, number 1.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Please.
Listen. Grammy, Emmy, 2 Tonys. EGOT on the way.
Yes.
EGOT
from your lips to God's ears. Yes.
EGOT on the way. I got to tell you, first of all, I'm going to pray for Jamie Foxx. He was in my studio the week before Ray was released. And I said to him, and I saw the preview, I said, you are going to win an Oscar. That movie is going to be amazing. You are going to get your EGOT status.
Thank you.
Let me just say that. We just going to claim that today.
Claim it, prophesy it, whatever you want to call it.
Can we start here? Before we talk about your album, because I think for people who may be meeting you, whoever you are and whatever planet you've been living on other than Earth, that are getting to hear about you for the first time, Billy. I love it when Alicia Keys says, people don't know my overnight success took 8 years. You have been in the game for a very long time.
Over 35.
You have put in
over 30.
Work. You have put in the work.
Yes,
you never gave up on your
ma'am.
dream. You never gave up on your commitment. I'm so impressed by your stick-to-itness. And your dream still may not have come true, but you have arrived clearly to a status.
Yes, ma'am.
As a performer. Talk about what it was within you. Because nobody could teach what you did. Nobody could teach. There's no class.
I grew up in the Pentecostal church. There has been a calling on my life, a purpose, dare I say, a ministry, from the time I could comprehend thought. The voice is the gift. I started singing when I was 5. They started calling me Little Preacher Man by the time I was 6. Because in that space, that's the only version of that feeling of special on somebody that people understand. And so I preached my first and last sermon around 10 or 11. And I told my mother, I was like, there's a purpose, but it's not traditional like that. It's not on the pulpit ministry. It's something else. And then I went to middle school. I was introduced to theater. I was bit by the bug. I saw Jennifer Holliday on the Tony Awards, and I was like, oh, that's a ministry too. That's a ministry that's outside of the church walls, but that's a ministry because my life has now been changed by seeing that. So maybe I can change somebody else's life by doing that. So the journey of being an artist was born then.
Yeah.
Through the years, it's been interesting to try to find my space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was told early, your queerness will be your liability. And it was. For decades, it was. You know, and I always say I'm so grateful to have lived long enough to see the world change. The world has changed. The world has caught up. The change has already happened. That's why there's so much panic on the other side. You know, the response that we're getting is panic because they know the world only spins forward. The change has already happened. We will all be humans. We're humans. We're citizens, whether you like it or not. Right? And so what I get to be in the center of is this inflection point that challenges the status quo of everybody, right? They cursed me from my pulpits. They told me I would never be blessed. That rhetoric held strong for decades. Now it has no credibility. I stand at the inflection and intersection points of that conversation.
So, Billy, would you say that the planet now has become your pulpit? The stage, the planet is your pulpit. You know how you were not narrowed to this 14 by 14 inside four walls.
No.
That the planet became your pulpit. And the people.
How dare I say it?
Yeah.
How dare I say it? And yes.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, you know, with these concerts, because as I was putting it together, the Black Mona Lisa Tour, Volume 1, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of, you know, I had to liquidate my savings to come out on this road. And, you know, there wasn't a whole, you know, it's like you know, I came the back way. My first R&B album came out in 1996, you know, on A&M Records. The business was very homophobic. It didn't work out so well for me then. You know, now I get a second chance. And so now here I am. And, you know, I joke and say I came in the back way, but I really have because I'm already famous. I'm already a celebrity, but I'm going out on the road in this space where, like, there's a little confusion. And I find it ironic because for the first 25 years of my career, I was trying to get the gatekeepers of the acting spaces to take me seriously as an actor. Because all they saw me as was a singer. So now I've made that transition and, you know, I read things online or I hear, oh, I didn't know Pray Tell could sing. You're like, okay. So this concert is which is what you already said earlier, is about meeting people wherever they got on the Billy Porter train. Wherever you got on the train, this concert is going to fill all the questions out. Fill it all out. It's a retrospective of my life. It's a pop rock concert, period.
Yes.
And it has all of the other elements historically of who I am. It's theatrical. Yeah. It's cinematic. It's, you know, it tells a narrative of my life.
Incredible story. Now, let me say this. So one of my dearest friends, and two things I want you to know as I move forward, and I'm literally getting chills on my arms because as much as I love radio and I've been doing it for a number of years, I'm also a playwright and I've been doing theater for the last 16 years. So just hearing you say that you even went into your own bank account with the stardom that you have, and it speaks to the passion and focus that you have, that you financed your own tour. We'll get to that. Yeah. And that you're on the road. My dearest friend went to the Detroit show last week. And
that was a lit show.
Girlfriend, if you don't see, I said, he's going to be in Philadelphia June 1st. So Philly, get your tickets.
Get your seats.
Listen, you leave it all on the stage. You know, black folk. There's some white folks up in there too, but you know they were taping. She said she sent me a part of the video. You just leave it. You are probably, and I say this to all of my peers in the music industry and in radio today, you have the purest, strongest, not just R&B voice on the charts today, hands down.
Thank you.
And I say that in this forum, which is a huge forum, you have the strongest, purest voice of any artist on the chart today. And if somebody doesn't believe me, do a versus with Billy, okay? I just want to bet a bottle of water, all right? So if you think your sister's incorrect, look, Billy, I'll finance the verses myself. I would put it, I dare anybody. Now, this is Frankie Darcell speaking, not Billy. But I dare anybody to prove me wrong on that. You have the strongest voice of anyone on the charts. Pick a format today.
Thank you.
You leave everything and tell that story. Plus, you said volume 1. So you're doing volume 1 now. Let's talk about volume 1. Let's talk about your new single. And let's talk about your show. Because listen, I've been stalking you for about 5-6 years. So this is just wonderful, my dear, to be in your space. I am a fangirl, honey.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much.
Wig too. I said, I know he's going to show up fabulous, but I figure this one will work. I just put a little spray on it. But there's so much I can talk to you about. Talk about your show. You mentioned it was volume 1. Talk about your single and your music. I want to get that in before I have to hang up on you.
It's a celebration of life, of love, of joy, of hope, of peace. And when I put it together, it was like, I don't have a lot of money for a lot of pomp and circumstance. So I have to focus on what is the message? What is the ministry of this? I want to come and minister to people. I want to give the world a big bear hug and celebrate life. You know, celebrate being able to gather again together and hopefully start a conversation about healing together. You know, like music is the universal language, and music has been a healer for generation upon generation upon generation. And my music, my new album, Black Mona Lisa, comes out in September. I wrote 13 of the 16 songs. I co-wrote 14 of the 16 songs. And for the first time in my life as a musician, as a recording artist, the music speaks and says exactly what I wanted to say. I'm 53 years old. I grew up on protest music. You know, protest music has all but disappeared in the market. Not with me. You know, and all of the things can coexist. There can be love songs. There can be, you know, power ballads. There can be celebrations. There can be flexing. There can be, you know, all of it is there.
You have a message. There's a message in your music.
There is a message in my music, and it's really important for me. And this time around, because of my age and because I've lived, people are open to hearing it from me. You know, when I was 26 years old, I was doing the same thing. Nobody was interested in hearing it from the little whippersnapper. You know, now I can speak because I've lived a full life pretty much in front of the world. You know, and so I have some things to say, and I've lived through some stuff. All right. You know, and so I've, you know.
And you're unapologetic in your music to sing about those life experiences.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I'm excited about the fact that, like, you know, Children came out and, you know, a year and a half ago. And then I did, you know, Stranger Things, which is my political, you know, one of my political pieces. And that came out during the 2020 election. And then, you know, Baby Was a Dancer came out in late March and has been going up the charts in the UK. It just reached #2, BBC Radio 2, which is huge in the UK. And now Fashion was released last Friday. And the response to it is just like remarkable. And that wasn't even one of the tracks that myself and the label had chosen. That track came in because of people like you, because we sent the album out and the response was fashion.
As radio people, we love to A&R an album.
Yeah. So I was like, okay.
I like this one and I like that one. Yeah.
Everything came back fashion right now. So
listen. So I want you to respond to this. You mentioned it, and you talked about the music you grew up on. Would I be mistaken to say that you are an advocate and an activist?
Absolutely.
And was it by accident or is just who you are?
Both. I'm 53. I'm first generation. Are you frozen? Are you back?
There we are. So
Okay.
Let me ask the question again. You talked about the music you grew up on, and I've seen just almost all of your interviews, and you do it so flawlessly and so easily, and it just comes out so naturally. But at the same time, it's so profound what you're saying, which lets me know it's genuine. Are you an advocate and an activist? Both.
Yes.
And are you okay in that space?
Yeah, I'm totally, it's a necessary space for me to be in. I'm first generation post-civil rights movement. So growing up, that's all we understood. We were taught what happened before we were born. Whether we learned it at school, which we didn't really learn the fullness of it at school, but our families were teaching us. And then I came out as gay in 1985, and we were required to go straight to the front lines to fight for our lives during the AIDS crisis. And there was no choice. We had to fight so that we could live. And one of the things I always talk about was in the Broadway community. I booked my first Broadway show in the fall of 1990. I moved December 27th, 1990 to New York City. It was the second semester of my senior year at Carnegie Mellon to be in the original cast of Miss Saigon on Broadway. And what I will say is that there's an organization called Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS that was launched at that time to deal with the crisis that was affecting the creative community the most. And, it was in conjunction with Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS and the Actors Fund. And they taught an entire generation how to activate. I learned historically from the civil rights movement. I learned in action during the LGBTQ plus activists during AIDS. So it wasn't by accident, and sort of kind of, I didn't have a choice. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I don't really, like, what was I going to do? Just stand by and watch my friend?
It's within you. It's you.
Yeah.
You couldn't sit quietly if you tried to. It's just who you are.
But my friends were dying. By the time I was 21, I had lost more friends to AIDS than my 86-year-old grandmother had lost. This is real. This was a real thing. We opened Miss Saigon on April 11th, 1991. And by April 11th, 1992, 4 people had died from the original cast. It's like, we were in the middle of the plague and I had to do something for my own sanity. So now I am one of the leaders. I have to step into the space of being one of the leaders of activism and in these spaces. And I don't necessarily feel as comfortable being a leader in that sense. But if I can do it, but because I can do it through my art,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
And this is a part of that for me. You'll see it in the concert. It's all
Yeah.
over. It's all over the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your tour is underway. Again, you're touring the country. You've already done a number of cities. You'll be here in Philadelphia on June 1st. I will be in the audience, and I cannot wait.
And you'll come backstage after,
Four
too.
of my girlfriends, we're coming together. Yeah, we're coming together. I cannot wait to see you. I always say, to whom much is given, much is required.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you have the audacity, in spite of the naysayers, those who may want to ridicule, there's a greater group of people who need to hear a message. You share that message in spite of that. I love your courage. I thank you for being who you are. Thank you for sharing with the world and never giving up on being one, who you are, whose you are, unapologetically, to bring the talent, the advocacy to the greater community around the world. You've touched people you'll never meet. You've empowered people that you'll never be in their presence. And you've educated people through your entertainment.
Thank you.
You bad, baby. You bad, baby. You bad, baby. And I thank you for just sharing this time with us. So take 30 seconds and say whatever it is you want to leave our audience with.
We've all been in a collective trauma for quite some time. And it's time to heal collectively.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever it is that we need to do, it's okay. Do not fear what's happening. None of it is new. The change has already happened. Love will always win.
Take your left shoulder and put it near your camera. Put your left shoulder near your camera. I just want to pat you on your back. Okay. Thank you, honey. I just wanted to pat you on your back. We don't. If we spend more time talking to each other instead of at each other, we'll find out that we have more in common than we have in difference.
Absolutely.
That's what that pat was about. Billy Porter, thank you, my dear.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Love you. I'll see you June 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, darling.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.